I think I got us started. Okay, I'm just gonna start all over again. So good evening, everyone. My name is Dada, and I'll be your host for today's session. And I am delighted to welcome every one of you to Aquaworld's Ocean Leadership Series. So if you're wondering what Aquaworld is about, we're a youth organization that is focused on projecting the importance and value of our aquatic environment, coupled with creating awareness and promoting sustainability of oceans and coastal resources. So most of the objective of this organization is achieved through sensitization program, outreach events in coastal communities, like cleanups, and also webinars like the Ocean Leadership Series we are currently hosting. And just to refresh our minds, for the past month, we've been hosting different series where we talk about the ocean, the coastal systems. And I would like someone to tell us a particular series they can remember or a series you enjoyed the most and tell us a particular thing you picked from that series. You don't have to go into much details, just highlight what you enjoyed most or what knowledge you gained. It's open to everyone. Is anyone willing to share what they've gained in the past series? Like it could be the one on the blue whale shark, or there was one on deep sea mining. Yes. Yeah, Mr. Paul, yeah, go ahead.
Okay, so I think one of the sessions that I can vividly relate to is the marine spatial planning by which was anchored by Gift David, right? And so one of the feedbacks that I hold in high esteem is proper distribution of marine ecosystem, right? While adopting there's a word I'll call just transition. I'm trying to bring in this climate theme in terms of there's access to fisheries resources, and also there's also proper management. Why people are given access to fish as local at certain areas, other cross-functional disciplines also make use of this ecosystem. So there's proper management and there's no conflict. And at the same time, these resources are well managed and sustainably utilized. All right.
That's a well detailed like explanation of what you really gained from the seminar. That's really good. Around can we shower Mr. Paul with claps? I think there's an emoji, a clap emoji. But that's a very good insight on what he gained from the seminar series. If we're not clapping, thank you, thank you. So would someone else like to share what they've gained from the
No,
past
man.
seminar?
I'm right now. I can't share it. Playing game.
Guys, please don't forget to mute yourself. Thank you. So is someone else willing to share what they've learned? Or we've all forgotten?
Man, I forgot.
Okay, if you've forgotten, someone else that has not forgotten what they've learned, I would call names if you don't want to volunteer yourself.
After you come right now, don't go answer. I don't remember.
Please mute yourself if you're not going to contribute. Thank you. I need someone to like tell us what they've learned, what they picked from the past series. I know it's been a while, but you don't have to give us detailed description. Just tell us a topic and what you picked out from it. I would call names. Okay. Mr. Aziz Baki. At least I can identify you as a member. You joined most of the series. Can you tell us any of the series you can still remember what the talk was about and what you picked from it?
Okay, hello everyone. Uh, so I remember one of the series that is about carbon sequestration, the ocean perspective of it. We try to look into the different perspective or different ways in which ocean can be used to. Can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Okay, perfect. Okay, so we try to look at how ocean can be used to mitigate the impact of atmospheric carbon dioxide. So we talked about the blue economy. We talked about the ocean alkalinity and some other processes as well. So that stood out for me.
Thank you very much for sharing. That's nice. Should I call one more person? Is one more person willing to like share what they've learned? Thank you, Mr. Baki. That was very insightful too. And I think I remembered that series. I picked some things from it also. I don't know if this is a Mr. Gift Samuel David. I hope I have your pronouns right.
Yes, you did. Good evening, everyone. Can you hear me?
Good evening. Yeah, we can hear you.
Okay. I think one of the session last year talked about deep sea mining, if I remember correctly. I think how to sustainably how to sustainably take out resource from the deep sea, and then and also how these act as a threat to our seas. So it was basically seeing how we can sustainably exploit some of those critical resources in the deep sea, and then how to also conserve the sea floor, not to disturb other aquatic organisms. Yeah, I
Yeah,
think
that's
that's what
very
I
true.
remember from that section here.
Yeah, that's very true. I remember that session. So that's a very good contribution. Thank you, Mr.
Thank you.
Gift Samuel David. I'm not sure which is your first name, so I'll just call you everything.
The first
Yeah,
name is
so Gift. Oh, okay, thank you. From the contributions, we can see that people have actually picked one or few things from the previous series we've had. And it shows that we are not here wasting our time. If nobody had something to say, I would say, oh, maybe we should reconsider having the Ocean Leadership series because it feels people are not getting anything from it. But from the contributions, even if they were not willing to like volunteer themselves, but they were just picked from the crowd, but they had something insightful to share. It means we are learning a lot. And today we are here again to talk about the ocean, but from the perspective of blue economy in Africa, right? And our guest for today is Ama. I'm going to share the slide that introduces her and what she does. So you can just follow me. Just a minute. Can you see the screen that describes our guest speaker?
Not yet. Okay, now, yeah.
Oh, okay, thank you. Okay, yeah. So I would not go deep into telling you what blue economy is about. That is why we have a guest speaker here today. She's going to do justice to that. I trust the expertise. So our speaker for today is Ama, and she's a second-year master's student at the University of Cape Coast, studying blue economy, governance, and social resilience. She has a background in biochemistry, and she intends to pursue research exploring the bioactive compounds present in marine resources. this is a very good reminder for people here in this group that you don't need to have a background in aquaculture or in fisheries before you can contribute to the sustainable growth of our aquatic environment. She's coming from a biochemistry background, and she's contributing to the success of sustainability in the marine resource sector. So I hope you pick something from that. And along with her academic pursuits, Amma is a philanthropist. She's passionate about philanthropy and youth development. So from my understanding of philanthropy, they are open to giving people money. So if you have a project, Amma is rich. You can reach out to her for financial support. Yeah. So now I'm going to give the
Please
floor
tell
to our
Amma
guest.
about our upcoming anniversary.
Oh, okay. Amma, I hope you're hearing that. Yeah, so I'm going to give Amma the floor now to come in and tell us about blue economy, share insights, the challenges of blue economy, and what we can do to make the sector better. Amma, are you ready for us?
Yes, I am, Kimmy. Thank you very much.
Okay. All
Yes.
right. So
Hello,
I
everyone.
stopped sharing. Okay. So you can.
Hello,
Yes, hello, everyone. It's quite interesting to be here. I'm grateful for this opportunity. And it's difficult to greet because some of us are from different places at this particular point in time. So it's just nice to just say hello. So do pardon me if I'm not able to properly greet good afternoon, good morning, good evening, because you're in different places. But just as Kemi said, I'm Kwartemaa, Agyei, Frimpong. And then I hope that at the end of our discussion and our talk today, we would understand what the blue economy is about, its prospect for Africa's development, and how even as individuals, we can contribute to the success of the blue economy. Thank you very much. And then I'll be open for questions at the end of my presentation. So for our talk today, it's titled The Blue Economy and Its Prospect for Africa's Development. Again, I'm Kwartemaa, Agyei Frimpong, and a second-year master's student in the University of Cape Coast, Ghana. So for our presentation, this will be how it goes. I want you to understand what the blue economy is about, Africa's blue economy potential, the challenges and solutions, and also some case studies. Which African countries are doing something in the blue economy field? What challenges are they facing, and what can we all learn from it? And then the way forward, generally. So before I proceed, if I have the opportunity and I can, Kemi, I'd like to find out from the house. I mean, from what you've already shared, I assume my presentation is already done. I should probably just say bye-bye to everyone and just like pack my things and go. Because everybody is mentioning the blue economy and then sand mining and what have you. So I'd just like to ask generally, if anyone has an idea of what the blue economy is, any idea at all is fine. It would be nice to hear our views and then move on from there. So if there's that opportunity came in, I'd like to ask one or two people what they know about the blue economy. Thank you.
Yeah, sure. The floor is
Okay,
open. Please feel free to contribute here.
Yes.
so off the top of my head, I would say blue economy would have to deal, seeing that our guest speaker is having now a background in the marine area. The blue economy will have to deal with the marine says the field advertising, or at least preaching how to better aid the field of the marine sector, if I can put it. So that's just my 2 cents.
Thank you very much, Mr. Lawrence Daba. I think that's just perfect. It's a beautiful way to explain the blue economy from your perspective. Anybody else, please? Please feel free. Blue economy. Maybe you hear blue, so you think the color blue. That's also fine. We are good to go. So please, anybody else? Blue economy.
Yes, Dr. Amma, I would like to chip in. I think the blue economy is the sustainable use of marine resources.
Thank you very much, Dr. Gesami. It's nice to see you, and it's nice to hear your view on the blue economy. So thank you all for contributing, and then let's go through the presentation. Hopefully, we get to understand the blue economy better, learn from it, and also give suggestions and questions at the end. So first of all, what is the blue economy? We have been fortunate to have two people share with us their view about the blue economy. But before I give definitions, I would like to mention that the term blue economy has been defined by many organizations in different ways. So organizations such as the UN, the Conservation International, the World Bank, and African Union have their definition of the blue economy, and then that's what they move by. But for the purpose of today's discussion and presentation, I would like to focus on two main definitions, because I believe these are much more specific to the African context and they can be applicable. So the first definition is, as Dr. Gesami mentioned, by the World Bank. The blue economy is a sustainable use of ocean resources for economic growth, improved livelihoods and jobs while preserving the health of the ocean ecosystem. So in blue economy, you want to explore the ocean resources, exploit them, and ensure that you develop livelihoods or employment opportunities out of it, but never forgetting to sustain the environment in which you are exploring these resources from. Now, the African Union has a very interesting touch to this definition. If you read, it says it's a concept that integrates into a new approach the economic exploitation of the resources of oceans, lakes, rivers, and other bodies of water, and the conservation of aquatic ecosystems. So the African Union also acknowledges the fact that blue economy has to do with exploring exploring resources in our aquatic water bodies. But what is interesting about the AU is that they do not consider the blue economy as only being applicable in the marine space or in the marine environment, but they see that any water body, any aquatic environment is also, it can also be considered under the blue economy. So when it comes to the African parlance or the African sphere, we look at blue economy in a very holistic manner as compared to the World Bank, the UN, the EU, and what have you. We appreciate that the blue economy is not only about the marine environment, but also inland waters at all. Now, it's important to note that the blue economy can address a lot of the SDGs, probably even all of them, depending on how you intend to look at them. But some of these, like the SDG 1, 2, 3, 5, 7, and one most important one, SDG 14, which is life below water, are some of the very key SDGs that this blue economy can address. Now, understanding the blue economy, we have talked about the definition of blue economy. How did this blue economy concept come about? What does it entail? What are the key elements that contribute to making the blue economy a success? Now, I want us to understand that the blue economy as a concept with regard to exploring ocean resources, creating livelihoods, and then ensuring sustainability of the ocean is not necessarily new. Because I believe that in Napoleon times, Alexandria the Great time, I mean, all the ocean was still there. People were still traveling. People were still fishing. People have been fishing since time immemorial. So it's not new. However, the coining of that term, blue economy, is what can be considered a bit new. So the concept on its own is not at all new. It's something that's part of our everyday life, particularly in Africa. But the coining of the term blue economy is what can be considered a bit novel. Now, there are two schools of thought. Some people believe that that term blue economy was birthed during the 2009 Congress of the Senate Committee on Commerce, Science, and Transportation in the United States. Another group of companies also believe that it came out in 2012 at the United Nations Conference on Sustainable Development. So it's a bit difficult to say for a fact that the term blue economy was coined during this situation or that situation. But these are some of the two situations people believe or people have stated might have brought about the term blue economy. Now, the blue economy consists of various components. There are different sectors that fall under the blue economy, mainly divided into two major sectors, the traditional blue economy sector and the new and emerging sectors. The traditional ones can be considered like big fisheries, tourism, the maritime transport or shipping, and then, tourism again, coastal tourism, still tourism. And then the new and emerging sectors could include renewable energy, particularly in the African space, aquaculture, seabed mining, marine biotechnology, and bioprospecting. Now, before we move on, I would want to draw the attention of the House and everybody here that when you talk about the blue economy, there are three major elements that make it whole. You cannot describe the blue economy without looking at inclusivity. You cannot describe the blue economy without looking at sustainability, and you cannot describe the blue economy without looking at innovation. Innovation is simply the bringing or the creating of something new, and it can also be an improvement of something that's already in existence. So as I earlier on mentioned, the ocean and its use economically in terms of livelihood development and sustainability has been in existence for long. But what is new is in recent times, because of new technology and advanced knowledge, there are new ways of using these resources. So that can be considered under innovation. Now, inclusivity. When you want the blue economy to be a success, particularly in Africa, you cannot leave anybody behind. Every stakeholder involved in the use or benefits from the blue economy is important. And so you cannot talk about the blue economy without mentioning the stakeholders involved and then looking at inclusivity, making sure everyone benefits from the blue economy as a whole. And sustainability. We can enjoy all the benefits of the ocean resources now, but we should not forget that we have a future generation that is going to come after us, and we would not have done our part as a people, as humans, as people who are into forward thinking and who are into addressing some of the SDGs if we do not consider the future generation to come. And so it's important that even in exploring or exploiting these ocean resources, we factor sustainability as a key element in the blue economy space. Now, this slide again talks about the various components of the blue economy. So you have coastal tourism, oil and gas, ports. Some are very common and very general. We have a lot of idea about those: marine renewables, aquaculture, and the likes. Now, the ocean as a resource also provides a lot of ecosystem services, which can be considered as one that do not have direct value. So these ecosystem services could include carbon sequestration. The ocean serves as a carbon sink in this era of climate change. The ocean plays a key role in preventing the impact of climate change by serving as a carbon sink. Coastal protection, the communities that live very close to the ocean, one way or another, sometimes get protected from certain incidents as well as of the ocean, and the existence of biodiversity. The ocean is an environment on its own, it's a community on its own, it's a habitat on its own of different marine, different inland aquatic organisms that play a key role in our livelihoods and in our life or existence as human beings. And this services that the ocean provides can be considered, was mentioned by the World Bank and the United Nations Department of Economic and Social Affairs in 2017. Now, this slide is generally talking about the various continental or regional and global instruments that the African blue economy follows or looks at. Sorry. So we have the African Integrated Maritime Strategy, the 2016 Africa Charter on Maritime Security and Safety and Development in Africa, and the adherence to the Sustainable Development Goals, as well as treaties and conventions such as the UNCLOS, the Compliance Agreement, and then the likes. So these are generally instruments that the African blue economy takes into consideration in exploring its ocean resources or in considering the blue economy in its space. So we can just read more about them. I practically just picked them from a slide I found by Helen Mopé-Gubamba at a conference she presented. So this is one very major and important part of my presentation today: Africa's blue economy potential. It's important to understand that one major importance of the ocean, or one major importance of the blue economy concept, is the potential it carries. Now, when you come into the African space, Africa is blessed with so many oceans, so many aquatic resources that can help us in lots of ways in terms of our development. So I'd like to borrow the words of Professor Yusuf Rashid Somalia, who is a well-known fisheries expert all over the world. He says, Africa's blue economy can continue to deliver huge benefits to the continent. So as Africans, we are focused on different aspects of our economy, the green economy, where agriculture is the main thing. But it's also important for us to understand that our blue economy, the blue resources we have, can also contribute greatly to our development as a continent. And so the subsequent slides or the discussions that are going to come after it are going to focus on Africa as a whole, the potential we have with regard to our blue economy, and then the particular sectors in which this potential is greatest. Now, the overview of Africa's blue economy. As I earlier on mentioned, Africa as a continent is blessed with many aquatic resources. It comprises of 38 coastal states, including 6 island nations and 16 landlocked states. Mind you, the presence of these 16 landlocked states is here because in Africa, or according to the AU, we do not look at the blue economy only in the marine context, but we consider inland waters as well as resources for the blue economy. Now, Africa, interestingly, has a coastline of approximately 30,000 kilometers. Can you imagine how long or how how wide this coastline is and the profit or the benefit we can generate from such a coastline. Now, the AU estimated that in 2020, Africa generated a whopping amount of $300 billion. If I had this money, I probably would not be here for this presentation today. But since I don't have, I'm championing the blue economy, so in the near future, we can get even more. So the AU stated that in the year 2022, Africa alone generated $300 billion from the blue economy. And this blue economy provided 49 million jobs. And this was recorded in 2022. We are in 2024 now. Things are growing and things are developing. The space is expanding. And so definitely more jobs are being created and possibly even more revenue is being generated. Now, it has also been predicted that in 2030, the blue economy of Africa is likely to be worth a whopping $405 billion. These are huge figures you are mentioning. So that should tell us how much potential Africa's blue economy has and the need for us to pay attention to this aspect of our economy. Now, the largest sectors of Africa's ocean-based sectors are fisheries, aquaculture, tourism, transport, ports, coastal mining, and energy. In Africa, these are very traditional, and they are the largest ocean-based sectors that's in almost in every African country you are likely to find. Okay, yeah. Now, what's the importance at all of this blue economy to Africa's development? Now, the blue economy can lead to improved food security and expansion in livelihood opportunities. As I mentioned in the earlier stages, when we get to the blue economy, it can lead to the contribution to the fight against hunger. Now, food security, the blue economy or the ocean or the inland water bodies have marine or aquatic organisms such as fish, which we as Africans depend a lot on. So issues of food security can be tackled by properly developing our blue economy and also livelihood opportunities. Looking at the various sectors of the blue economy, it serves as a great space for employing Africans. Now, a store or abundance of marine resources for tourism and recreation, an advancement in international and regional trade activities. The ocean, as we see particularly, serves as a barrier of some sort between one African country and the other, as well as the international world in general. So through our trade activities on the ocean, the blue economy serves is very important because it allows us to trade with each other as a regional bodies and also in the international world. Now, through environmental conservation and climate resilience, by using or applying the blue economy, we can conserve our environment, particularly the aquatic environment, and we can also promote climate resilience, especially in the work we find ourselves in the world now where climate change is a big issue, and the development of technology and innovation. As I mentioned earlier on, you cannot talk about blue economy without talking about innovation. In order for us to develop the blue economy, we need new technology, we need innovation. And so if we have our blue economy, then it gives us that opportunity to develop our technological know-how as Africans and also engage more innovation. Now, I would want to tell us more about three major sectors of the blue economy. Now, because of time, there are so many sectors of the blue economy we could have discussed today, but then because of time, it will be very difficult to speak extensively on each and every one of them. So I would like to specialize or talk more about three major ones. The first I would like to talk about is fisheries, because to be very honest, you cannot be in Africa and talk about the blue economy without looking at fisheries. It's like the mother of all sectors under the blue economy, even though it's overexploited. There's the fact of the matter is that the fisheries contributes a lot to our economy, in particular the blue economy in Africa. Now, as I already mentioned, the fisheries sector in Africa contributes greatly to its economy, greatly to our economy. Now, apparently, the fisheries sector employs over 12 million people, with 58% actively involved in fishing and 42% involved in processing. You have here men and women because in the African context, you realize that work in the fisheries sector has some form of gender dynamics. In most cases, you'd find the men being actively involved in the fishing, being fishermen, and the women rather staying behind to collect the fish, processing, and also joining other parts of the value chain, smoking, processing generally, and also selling. Now, 4.6 million tons of fish are harvested from Africa's waters each year, 4.6 million tons of fish. In a continent where hunger is a problem, in a continent where employment is an issue, in a continent where we are trying to grow our economy, if we are able to have 4.6 million tons of fish harvested alone each year from our waters, there's so much we can do with this space, so much we can do in this space to ensure that our economy develops and grows. And together, 2.3 million tons from inland fisheries and 0.7 tons from aquaculture. Now, furthermore on the fisheries, it's important for us to note that there has been a prediction that by the year 2050, Africa's fisheries sector is estimated to provide 58.0 million jobs. A lot of African countries today are crying about issues of unemployment, particularly with the youth. And for a group of people like us in Aquaworld who are mainly youth-based, this is something that is dear to us and very important to us. So if we can find an aspect of our economy, something that is close to us as Africans, that can provide us so much jobs or can provide us employment, why don't we look at this? Why don't we establish this economy or this sector greatly? So by 2050, Africa's fisheries sector is estimated to provide 58.0 million jobs. Now, fish is also considered one of the cheapest sources of protein in Africa. In Africa, issues of hunger and issues of malnutrition are being talked about day in and day out. But fish is so close to us. Fish is easily accessible. Yes, I would say now, because of changes in the economy and issues we are currently facing, fish might not be as cheap as it used to be, but averagely, it's still one of the cheapest sources of protein in Africa. And so we can leverage on this particular fisheries resource to tackle the issues of malnutrition, to tackle the issues of hunger in Africa as a continent. Now, there are various challenges that affect the fisheries sector, but I've only mentioned a few here. The first is illegal, unreported, and unregulated fishing vessels, the presence of illegal, unreported, and unregulated fishing vessels, or generally IUU fishing. IUU fishing is a big challenge for the African waters as we speak now, where you have large, industrial bodies, industrial companies who are involved in the fishing, going about their fishing activities illegally and not reporting their catch as expected, and also the fishing sector not being properly regulated. And this has affected us a lot because currently in a lot of African countries, our fish stock is dwindling, even though the fishery sector holds a lot of potential. Now we have water fishing fleets and then also ineffective ocean management. Management with regard to our ocean, the blue economy space, is one of the biggest challenges all African countries are facing. And as a regional body, this is one of the greatest challenges we are facing. If we're able to tackle it, it go a long way to improve upon our blue economy. Now, the next sector I want us to look at and to appreciate is, for us to appreciate is the blue tourism sector. Tourism is very popular. Tourism is a field almost every one of us has heard of or even has even enjoyed one way or another, but have considered blue tourism. Now, when we say blue tourism, we are simply considering both marine tourism and the coastal tourism. So we're looking at the beach activities that involve the beach, activities that involve the ocean. Could it be surfing? Could it be coastal cruising? Could it be scuba diving, snorkeling? All these form part of the tourism sector. Now, tourism is one of the biggest areas or sectors, if Africa is able to develop, can contribute greatly to its economy as a whole and also develop its blue economy as a concept. Now, over the past decade, the blue tourism sector has experienced a consistent annual growth rate of about 1.3%. I mean, in some time past, we do not hear about certain countries, but today, certain countries are very, very noted and very important because of their coastal tourism and how well they've developed it. Particularly in Africa, you talk about a country like Tanzania, particularly the city Zanzibar. So this picture you see over here is a picture taken from Zanzibar, a picture of Zanzibar. Very beautiful environment. Everybody would like to go and experience such an environment. And this is what Africa has, and Africa can build on to improve upon its development. Now, in 2018, Africa made $80 billion from the coastal tourism alone. From blue tourism alone, not from fisheries, from marine biotechnology, from any other sector, Africa made an amount of $80 billion. We can make much more if African countries will sit down and take advantage of the space they have, the blue economy space they have, their ocean resources, their coastal environment, their beaches, and then develop their tourism greatly. Now, approximately 24 million jobs have been provided by blue tourism in Africa. Now, projection again, by 2030, coastal tourism is projected to generate more than $100 billion, and this represents 26% of the GDP of Africa, with a substantial employment rate of 28 million people. So how is it that we have all this potential, but we are not taking advantage of it to improve upon the lives of our people? This is something we must take a look at. Now, by 2063, about 35 million people would also be employed by the blue tourism sector in Africa if it is well developed. But then, of course, there are challenges. But before I move on to the challenge, I would like to mention that aside the issues of the beach or the marine or the inland aquatic space in general, even the culture surrounding these areas are also big and also great in growing the blue tourism sector. People are willing or will be willing to travel from one country to the other just to go and witness the life, the culture of the coastal communities, how they live their life, how they manage the ocean resources. And also when the beaches are pure, are beautiful, are well kept, then it also encourages more tourists to come on board to enjoy the recreation activities that are present over there. Now, the challenges that are affecting blue tourism in Africa, one of the major ones is marine plastic pollution. This is a global challenge, not only in the continent Africa, but in Africa, it is a very big menace, and it's one of the major problems affecting our blue tourism sector, as well as blue financing. Now, in order to develop the blue economy sector, we must understand that money is key. It's important that we have finance, that we are investing in this blue space in so many different ways. And when it comes to tourism sector, we can only see it grow or develop to the point where we are reaping what we have sown if we invest enough money, if we invest enough finances into that sector. So these are some of the challenges that are affecting the blue economy space. Now, there's something little I'd like to talk about. So I have this very good friend of mine. He's also a course mate, and he's from Cape Verde, he's from Cabo Verde, and he's very passionate about tourism. Now, as I was preparing for my presentation today, I had a short discussion with him, and then he mentioned that tourism is something I should speak a lot on. So it influenced my decision to speak on blue tourism. But based on his own understanding, based on his perspective, based on his readings, he has come by some calculations, which I'd like to share with you. If you have some time, you can also sit down, read certain articles, certain papers, particularly reports from the World Bank and the Food and Agriculture Organization and the UN, and see if you can also arrive at some of these predictions. So according to him, Africa needs 15 to 18 million new jobs every year or per year because of the growth or the rising rate of our population. Africa needs 15 to 18 million new jobs every year. Now, blue tourism, according to this friend of mine, can generate one direct job and an estimated 2 to 5 indirect jobs if we receive 75 tourists. So all I'm trying to say, or what he's trying to put across over here, is that for for a group of 75 tourists that every African country receives at a point in time, there's a likelihood of creating one direct job in relation to blue tourism, and also creating a range of between 2 to 5 indirect jobs. Indirect jobs will definitely be simply referring to the jobs that surround or are in relation to the blue tourism space. So in case of issues of transportation, issues of the recreational facilities, hotel industries, issues of food, issues of accommodation, all these issues, yes, they fall under the sectors that are indirect jobs in relation to the blue tourism. So this is just something he as an individual has sat down to identify. There must be so much more available for us as a continent when it comes to blue tourism. And finally, marine biotechnology, which I consider very special and dear to my heart, because I mean, as we read my bio, you realize I have a background in biochemistry. So I'm very passionate about exploiting of bioactive compounds from marine resources. So marine biotechnology is generally very new when it comes to the African space. In fact, for most African countries, little has been done with regard to marine biotechnology, but it also holds great potential for us if we would explore that space. So marine biotechnology, for those of us who might not know, is a creation of products and processes from marine organisms through biotechnology, molecular and cell biology, as well as bioinformatics. Now, research has shown that over 35,000 natural products have been characterized by marine organisms, and they're still yet to be identified. So for the various marine organisms, be them plants, be them the aquatic organisms in terms of the animals, or be it plants, be it the coral reefs, be it the macroalgae, be it the fish, over 35,000 natural products in the forms of antioxidants, natural products in the forms of oils, natural products in the forms of different bioactive compounds that can be used in the pharmaceutical industries, cosmetics, and what have you. Over 335,000 of them have been identified. There's still more to be identified. because the space, as I mentioned, has not really been explored so much, even globally. And in Africa, very little has been done in that area. Now, the products of marine biotechnology I've earlier mentioned can be applied in the pharmaceutical industries, can be used to tackle issues of nutrition, can be used to protect the environment, for instance, and the production of biofuel and what have you. Now, the challenges that are affecting marine biotechnology are the lack of funds. Funding is always a problem when it comes to Africa. When it comes to development of our blue economy space, funding is very key, and it's a challenge we face a lot as a continent. Now, limited technical know-how. Marine biotechnology is a very technical space that requires individuals to study and learn these aquatic organisms into detail in order to be able to identify the bioactive compounds that are present in these organisms, and also technology. If you want to explore this field properly and also to benefit from it, you need to be advanced in technology. And that is something Africa as a continent is not so much doing so well in. We are not exploring the option of acquiring or even developing our own technology that can fit into our space to and more or less explore marine biotechnology. Now, the global marine biotechnology market size was accounted at $5.9 billion in 2022 and is expected to reach around $11.7 billion in 2032. This is a chart I hope we can see, generally showing projections of how the global market size of marine biotechnology and its products is developing across the period from 2023 to 2032. So you realize that it starts from somewhere in 2022, but it's gradually growing, and predictions show, or studies are showing, that if well developed, it would grow and shoot up even largely more after 2032. So there's the need for continents, including Africa, which has not explored this area, to look at it, because the global world is moving towards that direction, particularly with people being conscious about their health and in the use of natural products more instead of the laboratory produced products or the synthetic products. So it's important we look at the marine biotechnology space. As I mentioned, this is a space or an area or sector of the blue economy that I'm very passionate about. So for my research, I intend to do something of the sort, explore bioactive compounds present in the type of macroalgae found in Ghana. And I'm excited about that research, and I hope I found out something interesting and hopefully get the opportunity to share with all of you too one of these days. Now, what are the challenges facing Africa's blue economy? I've already mentioned some of these challenges, looking at the three major sectors I wanted to focus on today. But some of these challenges are overfishing, illegal, unreported, and unregulated fishing, climate change. Climate change is a big issue now in the African continent, and it's affecting our blue economy space, particularly issues of yes, climate change is really, really affecting our space, and it's something we must look at in order to and study more, in order to identify how to develop adaptive mechanisms towards it. And marine pollution, particularly plastics. Plastics are affecting our ocean in so many ways. They are killing the aquatic organisms, and they are making the oceans less appealing to tourists. Now, lack of infrastructure and technology, weak governance and enforcement systems. In order for our ocean space, for our inland waters, for our blue space to be used effectively, judiciously, and sustainably, the governance systems must be in place. They must be properly governed, both at a regional level and then at a global level, or even at the local level in individual countries. We must look at our governance systems. And limited access to finance and investment. We can't talk enough when it comes to money. We need money to develop the blue economy space. And so once there is no money, it's going to have a negative effect on us as a continent, and also challenge us when it comes to our quest to develop Africa's blue economy. Now, how do we tackle these challenges? To tackle the challenges of Africa's blue economy, you can look at it in various ways and the different ways to tackle it. But these are just a few points I've mentioned. Strengthening governance and regulation, promoting sustainable practices, is particularly in referring to the sectors such as fisheries. It's important that issues of IUU are tackled, and then our fishery stock is well kept and well managed, and establishing periods to allow the fish to redevelop, to reproduce, and also grow more. Now, encouraging cooperation and information sharing among countries. It's important that as Africans, we build that collaboration and that regional collaboration. It's important if we seek to develop our blue economy, because in various ways, in various sectors, our blue economy space is highly connected. And so once we are able to cooperate and develop that regional bond as African countries, we can share information, can share knowledge, we can share expertise, we can even share our resources in a way that develops a continent at large. Now, improving surveillance using advanced technology. Issues of IUU, it's important that surveillance on the ocean during the activities of these industrial fishes are monitored and can only be monitored using advanced technology. Promoting awareness and encouraging behavioral change. Marine pollution is affecting us in so many ways, but as individuals, we contribute greatly to the challenge of marine pollution. So there's a need as Africans for us to continue to create the awareness and encourage behavioral change, encourage each other, encourage each other like as a continent, encourage each other as individuals to do what is right and to treat our ocean as we would treat ourselves in order to ensure sustainability. And implementing measures to reduce plastic pollution using eco-friendly and renewable energy sources. As I mentioned, one of the challenges of the blue economy space actually is climate change. How do we mitigate climate change? How do we reduce the effects of climate change? We can do so by using eco-friendly and renewable energy sources, which might not be so easy for us as a continent in Africa, but one step at a time, we'll get somewhere. And finally, by developing climate adaptation strategies, because climate change is already here. Even though we are still trying to identify ways to mitigate it, we still have to also understand that we are living with its effects and its presence. And so we must learn to develop adaptation strategies that are specific to us as a continent and will work for our people, looking at the differences in their dynamics, culture, and also their economic status in general. Okay. So I'm trying to move to the next slide. I'm going to challenge. Yes, sorry. Okay, then. Now to the case studies. As I mentioned earlier on, as part of today's presentation, I would like to talk about two major countries in Africa, what they are doing when it comes to the blue economy space. Yes, I'll begin with Cabo Verde, formerly known as Cape Verde, or now Cabo Verde. Now, Cabo Verde is one of the 6 island nations and is a lower middle income country with an overall coastline of about 965 kilometers. Now, Cabo Verde is an island state, is practically surrounded by water. Everything they do, or much of their livelihood, is dependent on the blue space that surrounds them. So it's not surprising that I would want to consider it as a case study when looking at the blue economy space in Africa. Now, as I've already mentioned, the ocean makes up about 99% of its territory, and it's a significant link to other parts of the world. Now, tourism, because of the ocean space, is one of the largest sector, contributing greatly to the economy of Cape Verde. And this is one thing I want us to take a critical look at and really appreciate, that they understand the resource they have. They understand that they have more of the aquatic space, more of the ocean space and the land space. And so in order to develop their country, they are focusing mainly on the aquatic space, how they can use it efficiently and sustainably to improve upon their economy and the livelihoods of their people. Now, tourism accounts directly for more than 20% of Cabo Verde's GDP and 45% indirectly. Now, Cabo Verde also has developed a blue economy observatory. How interesting and how beautiful. There are other African countries like Kenya, like Tanzania, which have also developed blue economy ministries, and that's a good thing. You can see that now Africa is catching on the blue economy concept. But then for Cabo Verde, they have a blue economy observatory, which is mainly to understand their blue economy space, to share information, to also build capacity in that field. And their government also promotes ocean sustainability initiatives such as marine protected areas. Even though they do not have one yet, the government is still moving ahead and putting things in place to consider the establishment of marine protected areas. So what I want us to understand about Cabo Verde is the fact that they appreciate the resource they have, the blue space. That is what they have a lot of. That is what they are majority relying on. And so they want to use it efficiently and sustainably to improve upon their livelihoods and in their nation at large. Now, next is Ghana, my beloved country, Ghana. I mean, I cannot be a Ghanaian and talk about the blue economy space and not talk about Ghana. That would just not be right. And so for my second case study, I would want us to look at Ghana. Ghana, where I'm from now. Ghana is a coastal state with a coastline of about 600 kilometers and an estimated population of 30,832,019, according to the Population and Housing Census of Ghana in 2021. Now, Ghana as a country relies greatly on its blue economy sector. But just as in other African countries where there are different blue economy sectors running, you have the same case happening in Ghana. But like in Cabo Verde, Ghana also is big on particular sectors. And one of these sectors is fisheries. Even though it has maritime transport also at its heart, oil and gas and tourism, Ghana benefits a lot from its fisheries sector more than each of these or more than any of these other blue economy sectors. So Ghana's fisheries sector generates over $1 billion annually, representing about 4.5% of the country's GDP and supports the livelihood of about 2.2 million people. This is how big the fisheries sector is for the country, Ghana. In 2022, Ghana earned about $254 million from the export of fish and fish products. So in Ghana, fisheries is a very key component of its blue economy, and it's one sector that is always being focused on. I must say, as a Ghanaian, that maybe too much emphasis has been put on the fisheries sector, but it's very much understandable because it's very big for the country and we generate a lot from it. But in the same way, there must also be initiatives, and there are initiatives being put in place to manage this sector properly, because now Ghana as a country has its fish stock dwindling, and there are issues such as the IUU that was affecting us, cycle and the likes. But gradually, Ghana is also putting in place certain mechanisms to ensure that its fisheries sector develops as it's supposed to develop. Now, in the year 2023, which was just last year, Ghana held a National Blue Economy Summit, once again showing how African countries are understanding or understanding the blue economy concept and are trying to find ways to incorporate it into its development agenda. Sorry, trying to change the slides, yes. Okay, now. So what is the way forward? Now I have a long or tall list of things based on my experience, what I have read, and from my classes. I believe that Africa as a continent can do in order to develop its blue economy space. But before I list all of these, the first point, personally for me, I think is one of the big things if Africa is able to look at, or if Africa is able to do, will feed into all other things and develop its blue economy. That is domesticating the blue economy concept. In many cases, these sustainable concepts are brought about or are birthed in the European world or in the Western world. You really find Africa as a continent coming up with these sustainable movements. So issues of the green economy, blue economy, even the SDGs, you mainly find that they are Western ideologies that are being brought, and then Africans are also trying to incorporate. And that's where the problem has always been. That's what I've seen personally as a problem, that in as much as the blue economy concept is important and big for the development of Africa, we cannot necessarily develop our continent if we do not understand what blue economy is in our space as Africans. What do I mean by in our space as Africans? We already know now, even from the presentation, what blue economy is: the sustainable use of ocean resources. Yes, but what does it mean to use resources sustainably in Africa? What measures need to be put in place for the resources to be used sustainably in Africa? There are certain issues or certain initiatives that may be implemented in the Western world that would work very well because of their space, their culture, and then their mindset, and then their attitudes and the space they find themselves in. But if you are to bring those particular initiatives just as they are in Africa, without looking at it, considering our culture, considering our people, considering our challenges, considering our needs, they will not work in Africa. They will not work. Then Africa's blue economy will continue to stay where it is. So for me, I believe personally that if Africa really wants to develop its blue economy space, yes, it must understand what the global world is doing, but it must appreciate the blue economy in its own space, what it means to have a blue economy in Africa. That is what Africa needs to do. And so I was very excited when I saw that the AU decided to be distinct in its definition of the blue economy. So for the AU, yes, it acknowledges that the blue economy involves a marine space, but it appreciates also that in Africa, we are blessed with landlocked countries and even coastal countries that have inland waters that also provide a lot of benefit for its people. And as such, it would be wrong to look at the blue economy only in the marine space. And so the African Union, through the AU-IBA, decides to incorporate inland waters also as a part of the blue economy definition in Africa. And I think that's a step in the right direction, and more of such initiatives have to be put in place. And the continent in general, and individually, countries have to understand what it means for the blue economy to develop in their own space. So as I mentioned earlier on, in Cabo Verde, they know their surrounding, they know the resources they have, and they know tourism is one of the biggest places they can develop. And so much of the focus and attention has been given to tourism. In Ghana, we understand that we develop and we generate a lot from our fisheries sector. And so much appreciation and much concentration has been given to fisheries. Yes, there are challenges in both ways, there are challenges here and there. But once we identify these sectors, then it's up to us as Africans, as individual countries, to look at how best to grow these sectors to improve upon the economy, our economy generally. So other ways of ensuring our blue economy is developed is by investing in infrastructure and technology. Money is important, infrastructure is important, technology is important if blue economy is supposed to develop. Building capacity. This is also very important and dear to my heart because I'm an example of somebody taking a chance to want to build capacity in the blue economy space. I'm very happy to say that myself together with my course-mates, my cohort, some of them are here joining this talk or joining this presentation. We are the first batch of students in Africa reading a program in blue economy. And this is beautiful, especially if after all that we've studied, we find ourselves in the right places in order to make the impact we need to make to grow the blue economy sector in Ghana. So this is an example of building capacity. More of such initiatives should be developed in Africa. Africa should look at building its people in terms of the blue economy. Whether it's going to be formal education or informal education, capacity still needs to be built. Also, when it comes to gender issues, our women also need to have their capacity built when it comes to the blue economy space, so they can also be even more relevant and contribute greatly to the development of that space. Now, next, to strengthen regional cooperation and collaboration. It is unfortunate that in a lot of cases, African countries, even though we state or we seem to be united, in a lot of cases do things in isolation. When it comes to development of the blue economy, because of how interlinked and how related the African continent and how the ocean resources and inland waters are, and the resources, particularly fish, are, it's important that we build and strengthen our regional cooperation and collaboration. If Nigeria is developing in oil and gas, Ghana should be able to go to Nigeria and try and understudy, identify what they are doing right and what we are doing wrong and build on it. If Cabo Verde is doing so well in tourism, Ghana should be able to go to Cabo Verde, Nigeria or Cameroon should be able to go to Cabo Verde to understand the initiatives that are put in place that is causing their tourism to grow. Same with Zanzibar. Zanzibar now, they're even looking at issues of seaweed farming. This is something that is not found in a lot of African countries. I think apart from them and Kenya, few African countries are into seaweed farming. That is something that can also be exploited and falls under the blue economy and the marine biotechnology. So other African countries can go learn, find out what they are doing right, why they are venturing into this particular sector and how much they are gaining from it and what can also benefit them. And next, to facilitate access to finance and investment. This goes to the governments in general, both regionally as or collectively as a continent Africa, and locally as individual countries, and also even as individuals. We have individuals in each of our African countries who have the means to support different sectors and in different ways. If they all come together and push their force in terms of monetary force and then make finance accessible, money accessible to individuals who want to explore this space, I believe that the blue economy of Africa will grow and develop even more. Now, government should also take the blue economy as a priority and also put aside some good amount of money or create the environment to allow for entrepreneurs or allow for investors to come around and also feed into this space in order to ensure it's developed. Promotion of blue innovation and entrepreneurship. Entrepreneurship is where the world is going now. Innovation is where the world is going now. We need to create, we need to be creative, we need to create new things, bring new things on board. We need to have entrepreneurial mindset as Africa. Enough with the traditional way of doing things. We need to understand that we have to identify problems and bring about solutions that will bring profit to us as a continent. Now, improve participation of local or indigenous communities in blue resource management plans. In a lot of situations, and quite unfortunately, you find that when the government or the stakeholders in the formal sector are trying to implement a particular strategy or initiative in the blue economy space, they do so without hearing or consulting the local community that depend on this space. Africa is a beautiful continent with diverse cultural differences. Our culture plays a very key role in our development. And so if we really want to develop the blue economy space, we cannot do without the culture. And by not doing away without the culture, it means we are not doing away with involving the local communities that have always been or have assumed the position as custodians of these marine resources. And finally, there needs to be awareness creation, and also we need to encourage behavioral change. So before I end, finally, I want us to appreciate this quote by Sylvie L. She says, "We must protect our ocean as if our lives depend upon it, because they do." Blue economy, exploring marine resources, economic growth, sustainability. But sustainability is very key. We can explore all the resources in the ocean, we can exploit all the resources, we can be involved in all the trade activities, all the marine biotechnology. But if we do not protect our ocean, if we do not champion sustainability as Africans, as a people, then our ocean will be destroyed. And in the long run, our lives indirectly, in fact, directly, would also end, because our lives do actually depend on our ocean. And so once again, I want to end by saying sustainability is very important when it comes into the blue economy space. As Africans, we must champion the issue of sustainability, even as we explore our ocean resources. These are some references I worked with. Thank you very much for listening. I'm open to your questions, your suggestions, your contributions. And this is a cute picture of myself and some of my course mates after we visited the Elmina Fishing Harbour, and I thought to share with us. So thank you very much, and I'm done with my presentation and for now.
Thank you, Ama.
Well, thank you so much. Thank you. That was very awesome. Please, can we shower her with claps? Like, you can clap, if you can scream. But yeah, that was really awesome, Amma. Thank you very much. I can't see your claps. You guys are not appreciating her. That was really awesome. Like, that was really awesome. I'm pretty sure we got a lot of things from that. Yeah, keep it coming, keep it coming. Thank you so much, Amma,
Thank you too.
for a very deep insight into key sectors of blue economy that is not only economically important, but like I was really inspired when you were mentioning the billions. I'm like, whoa, so we have a lot to gain from this sector and we are not exploring it yet. And it's even important to see that aside the economic importance, like there's a social part of it, there's a sustainable part of it. So I really want us to think on these things individually, try to like think, okay, how can I contribute to this sector? How can I be a part of this sector? And with that being said, I'm going to open the floor for questions. But if you want to ask Amma questions, if you have doubts about things, or you feel, oh, how can I contribute? How can I be a part of this? I'm pretty sure Amma has a few insights she'd like to share regarding that. If you have a question, our time is gone, but we can take at least 2 questions, 2 or 3 questions. Yeah, Junior, yeah, you can go ahead and ask your question.
Hi, good evening. Thank you, everyone. I think it's an awesome presentation, even for someone like me without any background in blue economy. My question is what you already restated, that as someone not directly from that sector, how can I still contribute and to help make my country and Africa better, to help achieve this blue economy dream that you just showed us is possible? Thank you.
Amma, the floor, you can go ahead.
Okay. Thank you, Junior, for the question. So I believe as an individual who is not directly in the blue economy sector, you have 2 options. The first would be to actually want to be in the blue economy sector and to take part active roles in promoting the blue economy or in development in various sectors. But then for someone who wants to be in the background but still contribute, there are many ways you can ensure that the blue economy of Africa develops. I kept stressing on marine plastic pollution during my presentation. Now, as individuals, in our own ways, we contribute a lot to marine plastic pollution in Africa. In every African country, individually, we are using our single-use plastics, we are dumping our refuse where it's not supposed to be dumped, and in the long run, it's entering in the ocean. So in your own way, you might feel like it's a small contribution to developing the blue economy sector, but it actually goes a long way. Because if you, Junior, decide to reduce the number of plastics you use, or you'd ensure that your waste is properly kept as expected. And Kemi is doing the same thing, Ama is doing the same thing, Gift is doing the same thing. In the long run, we are making some form of progress. And also you can create awareness, use your voice. We all have a voice to speak. Today I'm here sharing this with you. I've spoken to you. You can share with the next person. You can go to a school, a primary school, a basic school, the small children, tell them about blue economy, tell them about the importance for Africa. And these are some of the ways that in your own small way, if you want to stay in the background, you can contribute. But there's also always the option to find yourself in the sector of the blue economy and contribute there directly too. Thank you. I hope it helps anyway, Junior.
More than you know. Thank you so much, Ama.
Yeah, thank you, Emma. And to add to what Emma just said, like Aquaworld is well known for that. We do a lot of cleanups, sensitization programs, create awareness, and teach people how they can be a part of this movement. So if you're like, oh, how can I be a part? I don't have an aquatic science background. How can I contribute? You can start by joining Aquaworld. Like that is a good place to start from. And with time, like you're gonna be enlightened and you know how well to fit in. So I'm going to give room for 2 more questions if we have any. Does any other person have a question or you need clarity? Oh, okay, yeah, you're asking if we have social media pages. Yes, we have social media handles. Can someone kindly drop the social media handle for Aquaworld in the chat, like Aquaworld members? Can someone do that for us, please? Does any other person have a question? Do we have any question? Do you have any other question? Oh wow, I think we've all learned a lot. Okay, yeah, so Junior, someone
I
just
have a
dropped. Okay, yeah, please go ahead.
yes. My name is Godwin, and thanks,
Okay.
Nanama, for the great presentation. What I want to know is how can we use modern technologies that are coming to really improve on the blue economy? Thank you.
Thank you to Godwin. So in my presentation, I mentioned the challenge of surveillance. So for instance, the illegal, unregulated, or unreported fishing is a big problem in the fishery sector. One way we can tackle that is by using advanced technology in terms of surveillance, getting technology that enables us actually observe activities on the ocean space. Now, in exploring marine resources, like some African countries, like Namibia, they're exploring minerals from the sea. They're doing deep sea mining generally, and they are using well-equipped technologies to do that. And I'm not so much an expert when it comes to machine learning and AI and what have you, but I believe that based on these general concepts and these general ideas, they can be applicable in many ways to ensure the development of the blue economy space. And this is one thing that Africa is lacking. We are not using the technology. We don't have the technology. And so if we have people who are experts in this area, so we have this technology available, I believe there's so much more we can get from our blue economy space than we are already getting. So that's the little I can share. As I mentioned, I'm not an expert when it comes to the technology, but this is the little general knowledge I have and I can share.
Thank you.
Thank you, Emma. And to add to what Emma said, although she didn't mention Nigeria, but it's fine, we are brethren. But yeah, I would like to also mention that Nigeria is not really doing a lot when it comes to fisheries, but we are doing a lot when it comes to aquaculture. And aquaculture is also an aspect of blue economy. The last time I checked, I think Nigeria is the leading country when it comes to aquaculture in West Africa, and the second in Africa. So Egypt is the fourth, and Nigeria is the second. So there's a whole lot attached to blue economy. And like she said, just understand where your country fits in and see how you can also contribute to the growth. Someone has a question. She's asking that how does blue economy relate to energy? Amma, do you want to answer that?
Okay, so I'm sure I mentioned it, but the energy sector falls under the blue economy sector, particularly relating to the marine field. So oil and gas is a sector which is energy and it falls under blue economy. So there are different phases of the blue economy that are in relation to energy.
Yeah.
Renewable energy like wind energy, for instance, you
Offshore
can
wind. Yeah.
yes, generate from the ocean space. Even tidal waves too can be used to generate energy in different ways. So the blue economy space too has great potential when it comes to energy. Kemi, I think somebody asked a question in the chat. I don't know if you...
Yeah. So I just saw the question now. So Bridget is asking that as a researcher in the blue economic space, how do we ensure we have African database reporting blue economy issues, results, real time? That's a very interesting question
Very, very
that everybody
interesting.
is striving to answer.
I know.
Mama, would you like to shed light on that?
Yeah, I guess I'll yeah.
Limited data is a problem in Africa. Like we don't have enough data to show. I was even surprised how you were able to draw out those values for
It
each of
wasn't
the sector. I'm like, wow, this is a lot. Yeah.
yeah, so I think it's a very big problem when it comes to the African space. But from where I sit and the little contribution I have, I think it all boils down to the regional cooperation. See, we are still doing a lot of things in isolation as African countries. If we can come to that understanding that we are working hand in hand to develop our individual countries, then I believe that we could even set up regional bodies for data management, for instance, because I found out very recently, actually, that in the fisheries space, most of the fish we have, say in Ghana, they are migratory species. So they don't only stay in Ghana, they are moving to Togo, they are moving maybe even to Nigeria, they are moving elsewhere. So at every point in time, they find themselves in different waters or different African waters, so to speak, different countries, African waters. So imagine that there's a fish from Ghana, moves all the way to Ivory Coast. Then from Ivory Coast, it moves elsewhere. In Ivory Coast, it's going to be caught, it's going to be researched, it's going to explore in so many ways. But this same fish actually came from Ghana. You see, so if we are able to understand that as Africans, we are working together, and particularly in the blue economy space, is very interlinked, then I think we'll build on that regional cooperation. And for me, I think setting up a regional body in charge of the management of the data. So for instance, Africa can have its own maybe fisheries commission, so to speak, where we report information or data or research that has been done in the fishery space can be stored up there. So I can quickly move on to that database and see, okay, comparing Nigeria's fish stock to Ghana's fish stock, this is what's happening, this is the cost. So I think we really need to establish that regional cooperation. So in order to set up bodies as a regional unit or as regional bodies to manage some of this data. If not, it will continue having this disparity, because even in countries, like a country like Ghana or a country like Nigeria, different sectors of the blue economy are doing different things, and even the data is not linked in any way whatsoever. So even individually as countries, it's difficult to get good information from us. So how much more on the regional body? So until we accept the need to collaborate and set up some of these bodies, I don't think we might be able to end up with that database we are all looking for. And data is important. Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you, Amma. Bridget, are you fine with that response? I think she did a good justice to that. So the last question before my question, the person is asking, must you have a particular academic background before you can pursue a course on blue economy? Well, if you were following us well, you would remember that Amma mentioned she's coming from a biotechnology background, and she's working on bioactive compounds and marine resources. So the blue economic space is very broad, right? You don't need like particular academic, but you don't have to come from a fishes background or an aquaculture background or a tourism background to fit in. So the most important thing is identify what space you want to fit in, and then look through the requirements and see how you can fit in. But I don't think you need to have like an academic background in blue economy or in a marine related course before you can do something in blue economy. Yeah. And my question, which is going to be the last question for today because of time, we spend a lot of time
Hello.
here, but it's oh yeah.
I've had my hand up for a very long time.
Oh, I'm so
So
sorry. I didn't see that. Sorry about that. Please go ahead and
perhaps
ask your
if you can
question.
permit me to talk after you, I'd be glad.
Sure, you're permitted. No, you can go ahead now. You can go ahead.
Okay.
You can
Yeah,
go ahead to
sorry.
ask
My
your
name is
question.
Gilda. Yeah, great presentation, Amma. Yeah, so I'm actually going to ask two questions, but then before that, I wanted to add that I've seen and researched to find that artificial intelligence is actually actively being used in achieving this whole conversation of blue economy, considering the issue of health, the health of our oceans and all. I've seen people create interceptors and all that, all in the all to try and help this blue economy conversation. Personally, I'm in an NGO called the Clean Ocean Project Ghana, and we have set up a whole innovation hub that we are trying to get funding and other things for to help. And I see another issue I realize here in Ghana is that of course data is really being treated as silos here in Ghana. So there's really no integration of a sort, and it's difficult to make sense of specific data that we have. And I think sometimes the government can really, really come in when it comes to conversations like this. Also, I would want to ask to you, the hosts, I know you are also in another organization or embarking on this project. How difficult does it get for you when you're looking for funding and then innovation as well, tackle innovation and then funding? How difficult does it get? Because here in Ghana, I don't know about others, but my organization really struggles to get people to fund these specific projects, even though we sometimes form alliances with governmental bodies and other things. It still gets very difficult. So I really want to know how you are going about it, and then perhaps it could be a tip from me and my people. Thank you. Oh, I think you're muted. Sorry.
Okay, sorry. As much as I would love to answer your question, I would love to call on Mr. Paul. He runs that a lot, like applying for the grants and financial responsibilities of the organization. So I'm pretty sure you have a well-detailed explanation for you and a very good answer. So Mr. Paul, if you're here, can you shed more light on the challenges of raising funds and how you go about it?
Okay, hi everyone, good evening. And first, I'd like to commend the moderator, Oluwakemisola, for the wonderful session, and our beautiful speaker, Kwartemaa. Thank you so much. I hope I'm able to pronounce your name well. I love the energy and the insights, and also our Ghana brethren. You know, our bond is so strong. I can see that we have a lot of Ghanaians here, and we are super excited as an organization that embraces diversity and inclusion. We are super excited to have Ghanaians here, and we hope that in our subsequent leadership series, we have Ghanaians join us often. Okay, so in terms of funding, I'd say over the years, there have been improvements. 30 years ago, 40 years ago, 20 years ago, you would agree with me that access to fund was restricted. But looking at technology, the technology age, you get access to fund at your fingertip. However, you only get access to it, but there's competition, right? Sorry, you get to know about it rather, but to get it, right, it's very, very competitive. So, however, every year there are initiatives, there are organizations, and there are programs that release funding for programs that have to do with blue economy. Now, it now depends on what value are you selling to get that funding. Now, the blue economy is very broad, right? The blue economy is broad. There is aspect of tourism, coastal ecosystem, there's food production, there's transportation. Now, at some point, there might be only fund available for coastal ecosystem management, right? And even in coastal ecosystem management, there will be specific focus. It could be on habitat modification, right? But I can tell that, especially since 2 years ago till now, there have been different sources of funding. However, it is competitive. It is competitive. So what I would just say is this: go online, search for so many fundings, sign up to newsletters. And Aquaworld will start doing something as from June. We would start sharing opportunities with our contact list on available funding regarding to ocean conservation. Research, right? There are so many of them. So, however, just make sure that whenever you are applying for any of these grants, what you are proposing aligns with what the funders are requesting for. That is the thing. Sometimes you have this brilliant idea and this wonderful solution, but it will not align with what the funders want. So yes, there are so many funding opportunities. There are so many funding opportunities. Now it depends on how creative you are to make them align with your focus and what the funders are asking. So I hope I've been able to answer. So to give you a few one, there are some that are currently ongoing. You can search for Ocean Grants, which is currently ongoing. You can search for Ocean Pitch Challenge by SOA. That also is currently ongoing. You can search for Water Innovation Challenge by World Bank. That is also currently ongoing. The deadline is, I think, 28th tomorrow or March 1st. Then Ocean Grants, the deadline is March 15th. If you go to National Geographic Society, they have grants, level 1 grant. I'm an explorer with NatGeo. So the level 1 grant is going to close by April. So there are so many grant opportunities. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Paul. I hope he has answered your question well, and you can reach out to him, like, to ask more questions. Yeah, after
Okay.
the
Thank
answer.
you. Thank you
Yeah.
so much.
So I would not be asking my question again because of time, but I want to sincerely express my gratitude and thanks to our guest speaker, Ama. Please let's thank her again. Like, it feels like the session should just keep going. We should not go home again, or we should not end this Zoom again. Let's just keep talking and keep talking. But we have to